Emma.
Hello.
Hi, Erik. How are you?
Hi, Mama. Doing good. He's going, mwah.
He always likes to do that. Hey, so look, Erik, it's been a long time since we did a celebrity, but I had a contest such that the winner could choose the next celebrity interview. And Justin Marsh is our winner. He chose Alexander the Great. So I was wondering if you could bring the dude in.
He says, no problem.
It never is. I really don't know much about it. I've got a bunch of questions from two different blog members, including Justin, and I also have my own questions, so we'll probably try to keep them short but sweet.
Okay, he's here.
What does he look like?
Erik is laughing at him.
Why, Erik?
It's like, I thought you were the great.
Why? What happened? Is he little?
He's not that big.
Well, he's great in spirit.
Like 5'7", I would say.
Really? Wow.
Average size.
Yeah, average, yeah. That's probably tall for back then. Hello, Mr. Alexander the Great. I should just call you ATG.
Hello.
I'll just say ATG. Is that okay?
That's fine.
All right. I'm going to ask you some questions from 3 different people, me included. And if you could, I really appreciate you being here. And if you could keep them, succinct, that would be great. The first question from Justin, our winner, is about your motives. Some say you were an idealist who fought to blend the culture of the world into one. Others say you were a megalomaniac hungry for power. What did motivate you? Oh, I like that question. Sounds like a history major here.
Mm-hmm. He's smiling. He says, well, it was neither.
Oh, really? Interesting. What was it?
He says it might have led up to an opening, a chance for different people with different habits and different ways of living and different ways of viewing the world. It was an opportunity for them to meet and to bond in a communion way. However, for me, he's saying it was really about finding myself, about finding truth within me and having an own voice. And it was about learning to use fear to my advantage, learning to manipulate people by using fear in order to make me conquer my own fears. So
okay.
It did lead to different cultures coming together. It did lead to more interracial unions.
Okay.
But that was not my objective. That was not why I did it.
All right. Here's another one about your education. Aristotle, the philosopher and scientist, was your teacher. What was the greatest lesson he taught you? Oh, Justin, you have some great questions here.
That is a good question. Erik's going, you go, Justin. He says, well, one of the biggest things I learned, and probably one of the biggest things that led me to my victories, was to observe every situation from a distance, to not let my emotions and my own beliefs manipulate what was really there, what was the truth, what was fact. And so for every battle, for every decision I ever made in my life, I really learned from Aristotle to take a step back. What are the facts without any attachments? And what would be the best solution to that? Okay. So he taught me to separate emotions from facts.
Oh, awesome.
What is and what we make of it.
Oh, wow. All right, your death. There's a lot of mystery surrounding your death. You died at age 32, and some say your own people poisoned you. What really did happen?
He says it was a combination of different things. There was no poisoning. It looks like there was a lot of internal injuries that he had sustained throughout the battles. And he's making me feel like the last battle gave him a rupture in his intestine or something.
Okay.
It poisoned his body slowly.
Oh.
And that's what it was. But there was a lot of guesswork afterwards and a lot of dilemma after.
Yeah,
So.
sure. All right. Now, when you died, you didn't appoint a successor, to rule your empire. This caused warring among your generals, and one of them ended up killing your surviving family. Ugh. Why didn't you appoint a successor?
He says, well, first of all, it was very hard to choose one. There was a lot of people that I trusted and also a lot of people that I wasn't sure about. I was thinking about an answer. However, I didn't. It felt like when he got to his last stages, he wasn't able to express himself. And that was just the only reason why he couldn't say who it was.
Oh, he was too ill.
Yeah.
Who would you have chosen?
I'm trying to get the name, but man, these names are not easy to pronounce.
Well, was he related to you? Was he a general or was he a son? Or, well, it can't be a son.
He was an advisor. He was an advisor to him.
Okay, that's fine.
I think it starts with an M, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, that's fine. It's not important, but an advisor, not a brother or anything like that. Now,
no, it was an advisor.
Okay, a few years ago, the filmmaker Oliver Stone made a movie about your life that was very controversial because it depicted you as bisexual. Would you mind clearing up this point? Also, what do you think of the modern LGBT rights movement?
He says on the bisexual thing, I was homosexual. I was for men. I did have relations with women, but that was mostly for getting a baby or
An
heir. That was the word I was looking for.
Okay.
But he was actually. He did have one true love, and that was his best friend.
Well, he said this. Another guy wrote in, "Hello again, Miss Elisa. I have a question you can ask Alexander the Great. West Hephaestion, Alexander's closest friend, was he Alexander's lover or boyfriend? Because history says he just fell apart and became physically ill, then died shortly after. Shortly after what? Maybe West died and." I don't know.
His friend was
that it?
Killed, yes, and he died shortly after.
Okay.
That was the love of his life.
Mm-hmm. So what do you think about the LGBT movement now?
I don't know what he thinks about that, but he's saying if there's one thing that the world still needs to work on, it is to get rid of the idea that love has limitations and rules.
Yeah. Love is love is love.
Love is love. Openness, acceptance on that fact in any matter is the only way that the human race will heal and will move on in the right direction.
Okay.
So acceptance and love.
Okay. This is about war. In 15 years of military campaigning, gosh, you started when you were young. You never lost a battle? Wow, what traits made you so successful as a leader?
Fear.
I was going to say, I was wondering if you were going to bring that up. Okay.
Fear. He says, as a young child, I grew up with a lot of opinions about me. My mother saw me in a certain way. My father saw me in a certain way. And then everybody else surrounding my father had their opinion about me. And I saw myself in a completely different way. So I was really raised with a feeling of insecurity, a feeling of fear that I didn't fit in, a fear of not succeeding. I couldn't please anybody. This fear, I eventually, with Aristotle, he taught me to use my fear and turn it into a way to direct my emotions. Hold on, that doesn't make any sense. It's like his fear, he used his fear as the engine behind his rage,
Oh, I
behind
see.
his fearlessness. So it was the fuel that lit the idea within myself that I needed to be more than my father, that I needed to be closer to the idea of what my mother had for me, and it was a combination of their idea about me and my personal fear of not being the leader that everybody wanted me to be, that really pushed me into using the fear of death to guide people and to
Okay.
guide myself into doing really silly things. He says, I did some really risky things that I did not know what the outcome would be. But I basically I turned my fear into a fuel.
Okay. What was your number one best trait as a leader that made men want to follow you into battle?
I wasn't scared to go head on in the battle myself.
And so you gave them the same confidence?
I gave him somebody to follow. I gave him somebody to say, hey, if I can do this, so can you.
Okay.
Most leaders in those days would stay behind and tell others what to do while they were in a safe place. I was one of the only ones who challenged death.
Okay.
I wanted to erase my fear by challenging my own death, by challenging my own mortality. And I used that to inspire the people who were fighting for me.
Okay. All right, so hero or villain? Today, many regard you as a hero, whereas other conquerors, such as Genghis Khan and Hitler, are generally despised as villains. From your perspective, now on the other side of the veil, when, if ever, does might make right? Ooh, Justin, that's awesome.
He says, from my perspective now, things needed to happen for a reason. That's always a good one, isn't it? Mm. Eric's going, well, it happens for a reason. Countries needed to be united. Certain rulers needed to be it looks like certain rulers were cruel, were very vicious, and they needed to be disarmed, or they needed to be eliminated, so that people could evolve into a more educated, into a more
and not as oppressed by a vicious ruler.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a combination of, he says, it's really hard to explain, but there were some rulers out there who really were very vicious and not good for their society, not good for their people.
So you're saying that you liberated some people?
I liberated some and I imprisoned some. So
okay.
It's really, some others were really enlightened. They were really, they had their own peaceful way of living, and I invaded that because of my own ego, because of my own desire to overcome this anger and this fear that I had inside of me.
So you were part hero, part villain, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I was a little bit of both, he says.
Okay.
And from a spiritual perspective, things happen for a reason. So,
and I'm going to ask about that one with my questions. Now, the afterlife. The famous psychic Edgar Casey said that your soul reincarnated as the American founding father Thomas Jefferson. First off, is that true? And if yes, how did the life as Alexander influence the other life as Thomas Jefferson?
he's shaking his head no.
Okay. Well, I will ask you about another life in my own questions. But so you did not come back as Thomas Jefferson.
No.
Okay. All right. Here's some questions from another person. Hi, Elisa. I've been reading Erik's messages for quite some time. Okay, here we go. Why did Alexander the Great not invade India? Historical records say that that he conquered some small kingdoms in the western border of India, but did not progress further. I love my blog members. They have such cool questions. They really do.
They do. Very good questions. Okay, he says it was his ambition to do so. However, they had tried to invade, but the environment,
the terrain,
the animals, just a lot of different factors that they weren't used to. Also, they were charging them with elephants, which was something they could not. He's showing me these full-on attacks with people on elephants that they could not defend themselves against. And then it looks like, the weather elements had something to do with it. Also, there was a constant, he says, a constant feeling of anger within his team, within his soldiers. People wanted to go home. They had been gone away from home for a very long time. So there was some internal conflict as well. So his team was not in a good state of mind. They were dealing with environments, with weather patterns that they had never seen before, that they were not prepared for. So it just looked like there was a lot of different factors why they decided to, they kind of pulled back. So they did go in, but they pulled back.
All right. What actually transpired between Alexander and Porus? I think it says. My eyesight's so bad. Did Alexander actually have a duel with Porus during the war? I don't even know who that was. Oh, here we go. Porus was the king of a small kingdom on the western border of India, and in the Battle of Hydaspes, the Greeks reportedly defeated Porus, but it is said that Alexander gave him back his kingdom. Is this true? And if so, what was the reason? So what's going on with Alexander and Porus?
He says he did beat him, and he did give him back his kingdom. He's making me feel like for some reason he recognized himself in that other person.
Okay.
And he had respect for him. He said he fought well, he fought bravely. And when they met, he's just making me feel like for some reason, it really scared him because for some reason, they felt like equals. They felt like they had been through the same thing. And they had the same ambition and the same struggle with fear and with insecurities and things like that. So it just feels like somehow they connected. And so he decided to give it back to him. So he says, I that was the first time and the only time I ever did that.
Yeah.
But I did have respect for certain leaders. I did have a lot of love and it was almost like a mutual feeling of understanding when he met some of them. All
right. Now I'm going to ask my usual questions. What was your spiritual mission as in your life as Alexander the Great?
Well, I was here to teach others to follow your instincts, to follow your gut instincts. Everybody said it couldn't be done. Everybody said I was crazy. They said we don't have enough manpower. Everybody was looking at it on a through very limited glasses. However, in my heart, I felt like I could do this. I had no doubt in my mind that I was going to achieve this. So I very clearly stated that the gods had spoken to me, and that they had told me that this was the way to go, and this was going to be victorious.
And did they speak to you? Oh, go ahead.
He says, well, I also, I visit the Oracle of
Delphi?
Delhi.
Delphi. Yeah.
A lot, and they did confirm what I felt. They did confirm, reassure my doubts on certain things, and confirm on what I really felt inside. So together with that, that is how I really had the people behind me, and they really believed and followed in me.
Well, were you really talking to gods? What are these gods? Are they your spirit guides, or?
They are, yeah. Well, looking back at it now, I did have voices in my head, but they were my guides. They were my spiritual team that was talking to me. If you look from a now perspective,
so you were kind of like a medium. You were like a medium.
They were considered gods. If somebody spoke to you, that came from a God source.
Okay.
So we did believe in a lot of gods in those days, he says. But, it doesn't matter how you call them. They were there, and they did push me to go outside my own personal comfort, and to really fulfill this mission of overcoming my own fear, and showing other people that if you put your fear aside, that you can achieve anything in life.
Okay.
Nobody believed in me. Even the people who followed me later on, when I was younger, they would say I was weak. They would say I was too thin to be a soldier. They said I couldn't fight very well. There was a lot of comment on who I was. They would laugh at me. They would call me a bastard. Were
you a bastard? Were you a bastard child?
Yes.
Okay.
My mother was married to my father, Philip, against her will. Okay. She was in love with somebody else, which she kept seeing after their marriage in secret. He is my real father.
Okay. Wow. Now, you were here to learn something, and I guess it was how to turn your fear into aggression. Is that what you were here to learn, or was there something else?
Yeah, first of all, it was about understanding what fear was. Okay. It was about understanding fear and where it came from. So through that understanding of where my fear came from, I also understood myself. I had a more clear insight of who I was. And then it was about using that fear to help me overcome it, and help others to really think outside the box, and really don't have any limitations on what to expect in life.
Well, how can fear help overcome fear?
He says, good question. I used my fear of not being good enough. I used my fear of not being seen as a warrior, not being seen as a strong man, not being seen as a leader, to push myself, to challenge myself, to really show them.
Okay. I'll show them. It's that kind of thing. Okay, good.
Yeah. Although the fear was still there, my ego kind of was a little bigger than the fear. So so I used that fear that I had inside me to say, you know what, I'm going to show you guys, and I'm going to prove that I am a leader, that I can do this, and you will all bow to me at one time, and you will all see.
And they did.
Yeah. And they did. And it was also about self-love, he says. It was about accepting myself and finding out who I was. Because like I said, my mom thought one thing, my father thought another thing. Everybody else around me had an opinion about me, and I was just kind of stuck in the middle. So for a very long time, I was very confused about myself. And am I, because my mom kept saying, you know, you're a son of Zeus, but that was just a way to, she wanted me to do great things. She wanted me to she didn't like my father very much, and she really wanted to show him that I could be a good leader.
Okay.
However, he didn't see it that way, and he had caught my mom with my real dad, and he was killed afterwards. He had him assassinated, and it was never stated that I had that. Sorry about that. That I had a different father, but it was just kind of the stories went around in different ways.
All right. What do you consider your greatest accomplishment?
Not being a barbarian in war times.
Oh, okay. So you weren't vicious like Genghis Khan was.
He says, no. When I conquered a city, I would make sure that the people there had everything they needed, that they were well taken care of. And even royalty family was taken care of. So
okay. All right, good. Now, when you transitioned to the afterlife, did you, what were your insights, your initial insights? Poor Emma.
I've had this cough for 3 weeks and I can't get rid of it.
No.
Once it's there, it's there. It's very hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
What was your question again?
What insights did you have when you first transitioned to the afterlife?
He says, well, I didn't expect it to be over yet.
Oh, yeah, you were kind of young. You were like shocked, huh?
Yeah, it feels more, he's making me feel things like he knew he was sick, but he never thought he would die from it. He thought he would get better, and he never gave up on the idea of getting better. So it feels like he was kind of disappointed that he hadn't been able to, because he still had a lot of things he wanted to accomplish, that he didn't get to accomplish them. But at the other hand, also relieved, he says, because he's making me feel like he was tired. He was exhausted. His body was beaten up. He's making me feel like he was, at that time, was not in a good state of mind. And he says, I was welcomed by his lover and his father and some other people that he really cared for. So that was good, he says. Once I saw them, I was at peace. I was happy to be in a place where I didn't have to prove myself anymore.
Did you have any regrets when you looked back on your life?
He says, yes, I didn't. I didn't treat my lover with the respect that he deserved. He was my everything, and I couldn't tell people.
Did people? So people did not know, really, or were there rumors?
There were rumors, but I never admitted to them.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
It just feels like he would fool around with other people, and that hurt his lover. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Can you share?
Appearance.
Pardon me?
He says keeping up appearances.
Yeah. Can you share another life that you think most influenced your life as Alexander the Great?
He says, well, I can share a life that Alexander the Great influenced.
Okay. That's fine.
So it looks like this one,
Uh,
if you look at linear times, came after.
okay. Because, yeah, there is no time, so you can influence
Yeah.
lives before or after.
Either way.
Mm-hmm.
He's showing me, he's like a little boy. It looks like he was a colored boy
Mm-hmm.
uh, in the South where there was still slavery.
Okay.
He's saying that although I had no say, I was considered an object, a tool.
Mm.
I had no right to any opinion. I was completely at peace. I was completely in acceptance of my life. And the only thing I wanted was to have my own dreams and to really, that was my world. I had a tendency of daydreaming a lot. So while I had to do some work, I was daydreaming of greater and bigger things, and nobody could take that away from me. And for me, although I saw some horrible things and I experienced some horrible things, that was my peace. That was my sanctuary. And so when I was at Alexander the Great, it was all about using power to overcome my insecurities and to overcome my fears. This life was really about acceptance, finding true happiness in the smallest things, and not needing grandeur and not needing, conquering. Conquering countries in order to make myself feel better. All I needed was me and my dreams. I did not live very long.
Where did you die from?
I was shot in the head.
Oh gosh, why? By whom? Uh,
I was 17.
who shot you? Was it your owner or?
Oh no.
Oh,
I
why?
stole an apple.
Oh, you stole what?
An apple.
Oh, good God, that's horrible. All right, just a couple more questions here. Do you have any messages for us at all?
He says yes. Although fear is often considered something negative, it is often considered as, even in the spiritual world, something you need to let go, something you need to try not to possess. He says fear has both sides. Fear has a positive and a negative. It is how you let fear into your life that makes the difference. Do you let fear run you over and decide who you are, where you're going, what you're going to do? Or do you control the fear and use it as an engine, as a fuel to really follow your heart and your dreams and to really go for it? Fear is a great tool to break things down so you can rebuild with love. So sometimes we really need to break things down to the bone and then we rebuild with love.
Wow.
So use fear as a positive, not as a negative. Use it as your fuel to be fearless,
Mm-hmm.
and or use it as a tool to break everything down, start over, and rebuild with love.
Okay. Now, can you share anything new about you that we don't know about?
He's going, okay. He's laughing. He thinks it's a good question. He's saying it's hard because people know so much already.
Yeah.
People really go into details into your life.
Like, did you have a secret phobia or something that wasn't well known about you?
He's going, no, I didn't really have phobias like that. It was more fear of myself. However, there's something that maybe a lot of people don't know. It sounds kind of weird, but he says, I'll just say it to prove that love can go in different ways. My mom really loved me, really loved me, and he's making me feel like they kind of had this relationship that would now be considered
Incestual?
Yes. So
Okay.
they did have, to a certain age, a very close relationship in that sense.
Okay. So they had an incestual or slightly incestual relationship.
Slightly special. Yeah, they
Okay.
would sleep in the same bed. She would touch him in ways that would be considered not done. So
Did that mess you up, Allison?
yeah, but
Did that
he
create
said,
problems for you?
did that what?
Did that create problems for you?
Not well. It created confusion for me.
Okay.
It created confusion, and my mother. It didn't last very long. He's just making me feel like when he was really little, she would do things like that.
Okay.
She was really obsessed by me and by where I needed to go, and
Okay.
she would even kill people to make sure that I would go in certain directions. So
Okay. Wow.
she had an obsession. Let's just say it that way.
Yeah. All right.
But she did love.
Two more things. This I think we already answered, but I could try. Can you tell us some information that will enable humans to evolve to their greatest potential as a whole and individually? And then, Erik, I'm going to ask you to ask a question, and then that's it. Beside the whole fear thing, yeah.
Because well, there's so many things. He says, I'm trying to come up with something original. I guess there's.
Well, just whatever you think is the most important.
Well, for me, he says, it's really about believing in yourself. It's really about not judging either. It's judgment is what drove me to this ambition to prove myself. However, if we could stop judging each other and start looking at ourselves first and start there, you would see your personal development would affect others in a very positive way as well. So instead of trying to fix everybody else, start with yourself. Start with your own feelings, your own emotions, and your thoughts. Really be aware of them. Really analyze them. Because so many things are being said and thought and felt, and we don't even half of the time have any idea that we're thinking that it passes by us, and we don't even have a clue that we're really he says there's so many people who say we're not racist or we're not this or we're not that, but then their actions say different or thoughts say different. So start with yourself. Start analyzing yourself. Start analyzing your thoughts and your feelings. And then really decide for yourself, is this the person who I want to be? Or do I want to be somebody greater?
All right, so really know yourself. And that takes a lot of emotional honesty to really evaluate your thoughts and feelings. I think that's a very good message. Erik, do you have any questions for him? Not boxers or briefs. Something real. I just feel like he's going to ask that. I swear.
No, he was like, what's up with the skirts?
Oh, my gosh.
Alexander's like, it gets hot out here.
Yeah. You got to air things out.
Did you ever have children, he says. He says yes.
Okay.
He had 3 wives. And he did have a son, but he's making me feel like the son was hidden, like it was kind of like undercover.
Like to protect him or what?
I think for its own safety, they just made him disappear.
Okay. Very good. I think, unless Emma, do you have any questions?
No, not right now.
Thank you, Alexander the Great. I really appreciate you coming in and taking some time with us, enlightening us. I think we will be, all of us have learned a lot from you, and hopefully the viewers will too.
He says you're very welcome.
Bye.
Be kind to one another. He's going, bye.
Bye. Bye, Erik. I love you so much.
Say bye, Mamacita. I'll be coming by later.
Okay, I hope so. And Emma, thank you for this. I will call you up in just a second to say something. And you guys wait until the end so you can see how to connect with Emma and her greatness. And until next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.